Minwei Chi Nan. Chapter 127. Lei Xiangli's betrothal. To have a warm home had been Lei Tie's wish for many years. Qin Mian understood his insistence on going home. He first hugged his man and stuck his face onto the man's waist. I also prefer to stay at home. Sit, I'll have people serve the food. Lei Tie rubbed Qin Mian's head, poked the fire in the charcoal brazier into a blaze, and opened the door to go out. Dinner was still hot pot but with herbal hot pot soup base. The weather was too cold for fried dishes since they turned cold very quickly. It was already dark when they finished dinner. Lei Qinlei lit 2 windproof lanterns hanging on the eaves and drove off. Dian Bai ran along the carriage, full of vitality. Lei Qinshun had gone back earlier after transporting the vegetables. There was only Lei Qinlei driving the carriage on the road. The windproof lanterns swayed along the carriage, which also swayed the lights, adding a little warmth in the night when the wind was howling. Lei Qinlei tightened the winter hat on his head and hummed in a low voice. Qin Mian was full and languidly shrank in Lei Tie's chest. As a cultivator, he should not have been so afraid of the cold. However, his cultivation was still shallow, and he didn't know why only a small part of the spiritual qi absorbed during the practice had refined into his qi, and the rest was missing. For him, using his qi to maintain body temperature consumed too much, so he simply used Lei Tie as a human heater, convenient and intimate. With his eyes closed, his quiet appearance exuded another temptation. Lei Tie's throat was tense. Only when he called out wife, did he realize that his voice was burnt to hoarse by strong desire. What's it? Qin Mian opened his eyes. Lei Tie's hand masterfully burrowed into Qin Mian's lapel. Qin Mian put his arms around the man's neck, and Ah Tie, slow down. The ambiguous sound was blown away by the cold wind. Lei Qinlei was not at all aware, he raised the whip and drove the carriage fast and steadily. Ding ding dong, ding ding dong. The small bell on the carriage also sounded very lively. When Qin Mian regained consciousness, he was already lying on the warm heatable brick bed. The light that came through the gap in the curtain was harsh to the eyes. He closed his eyes in discomfort and opened them again. Is it the next day already? A familiar noise sounded behind him before a big warm palm fell on his cheek and caressed it. He turned around, Lei Tie's strong facial features and clear bright eyes came into view. Lei Tie lay on his side with a quilt up to his chest. He wore only white inner clothing with the lapels opened and disheveled, revealing his wheat-colored clavicle. Awake? Still sleepy? Lei Tie leaned over as he asked in a low voice. Qin Mian pulled the quilt up to cover his man's clavicle and tucked the corner of the quilt in. Then, he wrapped himself in the quilt, turned his back to the man and squeezed into the man's chest. Then he languidly said, "Let's lie down a little longer." Lei Tie pushed away his hair and kissed his earlobe. Then, a soft kiss fell on his nape, the big palm slid slowly down his waistline. Qin Mian moaned comfortably and suddenly thought of something. Ah Tie, did we forget something? Nai Hung and Mu Chen have come. I let Uncle Fu take them around the farmhouse first. Wife, think only of me. What else could Qin Mian say to that? His whole person was covered in the quilt. After a good while, the undulating quilt finally calmed down. Lei Tie's head emerged first. In a moment, Qin Mian's head also came out with red cheeks and slightly swollen lips. He titled his head to look at Lei Tie. Owing to the pleasure just now, the man's face had a hint of sexiness in it, which made him unable to move his eyes away. In a hurry to divert his attention, he asked in a hoarse voice, "When did you wake up?" Lei Tie said, "An hour ago." Hungry? Qin Mian nodded his head, and Lei Tie pecked his wife's lips, put on his clothes and went out. Only then did Qin Mian notice that Dian Bai and the brown bear was lying on the ground and sleeping soundly with no one knowing exactly when they had returned. Bored, he picked up a clothes hanger and poked the bear's head. The brown bear raised its head and looked at him with groggy eyes. It raised its leg to get on the bed, but Qin Mian hurriedly pushed it down. The brown bear grunted, crawled back, and stayed motionless like a hill. Hearing the approaching footsteps, Qin Mian sat up, put on his cotton-padded jacket, and leaned against the backrest. LIAN came in with a tray, bypassed the two obstacles on the floor, and walked to the side of the bed. He placed a small table well on the bed and put the tray on the small table. In the tray was a steaming hot bowl of delicious lean meat with vegetable porridge. The brown bear still has no name. So, called it Jinsimo P. /note, Jinsimo P meant golden fur or gold fur / You decide. LIAN handed a spoon to him. Wife, eat slowly. I'm going out for a while. Go ahead. Qin Mian knew that he was going to visit the greenhouse. NING and Mu Chen were following Uncle Fu to visit the orchard and leisurely farmhouse, sightseeing with lively interest. Seeing LIAN coming, Mu Chen excitedly asked, Boss Lei, can we pick the sweet oranges first? With a poker face, LIAN said, after, I still have something important to do. Mu Chen had to change his mind, well, go to see the vegetables first then. As soon as the few people reached the vegetable garden, they could see 4 high and long greenhouses at a glance. Uncle Fu lifted the curtain at the entrance of the greenhouse and led NING and Mu Chen to visit. NING and Mu Chen were deeply impressed by the many kinds of vegetables growing in fine form, which made them more confident and nodded to LIAN to express that there was no problem. NING put his thumbprint on the 3 documents on the spot. LIAN took out Qin Mian's seal and stamped it. LIAN and NING each kept 1 copy. LIAN told Uncle Fu, Steward Fu, later, you will take Lei Qin Zhong and Lei Qin Shun with Boss Nai and young Master Mu to the county town and send the document to the local authority for filing. Uncle Fu bowed his head as he replied, Yes, eldest young master. LIAN turned to NING and Mu Chen, the greenhouse is built by Steward Fu with other servants. If you have any questions, you can ask them. Steward Fu will speak without reserve. Although NING didn't know Qin Mian and LIAN very well, he could see that they were very honest people, so he wasn't afraid of them playing any tricks. If there's any question, have someone to call me over. With that, LIAN made an obeisance gesture toward NING and Mu Chen to excuse himself and turned to leave. Mu Chen patted NING's back with an ambiguous expression. Surprisingly, Boss Qin didn't show up. Is he not afraid that his man will suffer in our hands? Do you think he hasn't got up yet? NING shot a glance at him and pulled him deeper into the greenhouse. Do you need to worry about these? Get down to business. Steward Fu, first tell us what we need to build a greenhouse like this. When LIAN returned to the house, Qin Mian's bowl of porridge was finished. Qin Mian handed the empty bowl to him. Want more? Is there some? A lot. LIAN came back with the porridge and watched Qin Mian eat. When Qin Mian had finished eating and made sure he was full, LIAN said, Wife, Lei Qin Lei brought Manager Sun's news. The other 3 Diamond members also give up participating in the great adventure. Really? Qin Mian looked regretful. I thought that hunting in the mountains would be very attractive to those rich people. It's a lapse of judgment. That's fine though, they save us the trouble. Read a book? Asked LIAN. Qin Mian shook his head. I'm arranging New Year's gifts first. From inside the drawer, LIAN took out his wife's felt-tip pen and notebook before taking the bowl out of the room. When he returned home after sending NING and Mu Chen out of the gate, Qin Mian had written several pages in his notebook. Qin Mian handed the notebook to him and discussed with him, "Tie, see if my arrangement is appropriate. Our servants are good. We haven't found anyone who is lazy or tries to shirk their duties. I think, this new year, compared with last year, each person will be given 50 wen more bonus and 5 jin more meat. Also, starting from next year, the monthly payment of all servants will be increased by 20 won. As for the 4 seasons clothes, add a set each for the ordinary servants, and 2 sets each for the managing servants. What do you think? Lei Tie looked over it carefully and nodded, do as you say. Wife, Lei Chin Lei and Steward Fu are good. Later, let Lei Chin Lei manage the vermicelli workshop, and Steward Fu manages the winery. This way, you don't have to work so hard. Qin Mian said with a smile, I think the same. I'll arrange things after the new year. Uncle Quan's character is also trustworthy. If there is no mishap, we can leave the vineyard to him. Doable. Lei Tie said, their sale deeds are in our hands, I believe no one will do anything stupid. N. Qin Mian continued to write down other arrangements in his notebook. The New Year's gifts for the workers in the winery and vermicelli workshop are still graded according to their usual performance, lest their appetites give birth to wickedness. Lei Tie said, I'll personally send out the New Year's gifts. On the 18th of the 12th month, Qin Mian and Lei Tie came to the old house again. This was the day when Lei Xiangli and Sun Yu were betrothed. There were 6 etiquettes of marriage: making a proposal, requesting birth date, sending news of divination results and betrothal gifts, sending wedding gifts, requesting the date of the wedding, and fetching in the bride in person. Proposing was done with the matchmaker. Requesting birth date was requesting the 8 cyclic characters to determine fate, and after exchanging the birth date characters, the man will express willingness to go on to the next step. Sending news of divination results and betrothal gifts was to talk about marriage. If the 8 characters of both parties were compatible, the marriage could be established and the date of marriage could be set. The date of Lei Xiangli's marriage with Sun Yu was set on the 18th of the 4th month of next year. When the marriage had been decided, it was a custom for the family members to have a meal together. Lei Xiangli was standing at the gate of the courtyard with a smile on his lips. Qin Mian raised his voice, full of teasing, Si Lang, congratulations. A load on the mind has been lifted, isn't it? Cough. Lei Xiangli blushed, don't make fun of me, eldest sister-in-law. Please, come in. Qin Mian fished out a red small pouch that was prepared earlier from his sleeve pocket and handed it to him. There were 5 silver taels in it. This is a little regard from your daguerre and myself, take it. Without waiting for Lei Xiangli to speak, he pulled Lei Tie into the central room. As he had anticipated, as soon as Lei Daqiang saw them coming in, his patience ran out. Wei Lang and eldest daughter-in-law, you two must have not forgotten what you said before during the family separation. When Lao Si gets married. Lei Xiangli hurriedly said, Father, daguerre and eldest sister-in-law already gave me 5 taels. I have received it. Du Shi looked displeased. Qin Mian and Lei Tie gave the money directly to Lei Xiangli and not to her nor Lei Daqiang, obviously they were on guard against them. Qin Mian said with a smile, Elder, old lady, and second old lady, we just came to give our congratulations. Today's really unfortunate as we have something important to do at the town, so we won't have a meal. Wei Shi rushed to talk before Lei Daqiang and Du Shi, it's fine, go ahead if you have an urgent matter to do. Lao Si, send off your daguerre and eldest sister-in-law. Before the 3 men had gone far away, Du Shi began to attack Wei Shi, Lao Si is my son. My son is the one who got betrothed. When was it your turn to make a decision? Wei Shi gave a pleasant smile and said in a soft voice, Gigi, didn't you see that Lao Si looked embarrassed just now? I did it for your own good, lest your 3rd son ends up being at odds with you. Du Shi blew her top, you. All right. Lei Daqiang gave Du Shi a discontented look as turned his back to her to block her fierce gaze. Then he looked at Wei Shi with concern, Wei you're about to give birth, don't be too agitated. I'll listen to my husband. Wei Shi gently smiled at him, husband, accompany me to go out for a walk. All right. I'll help you. Slow down. As soon as they walked out of the central room, the sound of broken cups was heard from within. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 128. A New Year. As the new year approached, Lei Tie had not slackened the training for the armed servants. He got up very early. After completing the daily training tasks, Lei Tie took solid food and brought the armed servants to the back of the mountain for field training. Great snow fluttered about these days, but the training did not stop at all. Lei Qin Shun's group of 9 did not understand why the eldest young master trained them so strictly, yet no one asked questions. They all understood one truth: what they truly learned belonged to them. The door of the house was tightly shut. Jin Simopi lay beside the settee, sleeping in the dark. Qin Mian nestled in the settee with his back against Jin Simopi and legs covered with woolen blankets, serving as a table as he wrote on his notebook. A charcoal brazier was placed not far away. The charcoal was burning well and the flame was ablaze. The white residue of the burnt charcoal floated along with the flame and was being blown away by the wind. The candles on the 4 corners were lit, setting off a warm and comfortable hue in the living room. When there were too many things to do, Qin Mian used to write all the things on paper, which made it more convenient to make logical arrangements. What he was arranging was the preparation before the new year: who was responsible for the residence's sanitation, who was responsible to decorate leisurely farmhouse, who was responsible for purchasing New Year's goods, who was responsible for killing chickens and ducks, and so on. It was all clearly written. Last year, he and Lei Tie personally worked on all these things. This year, they just needed to be the eldest young master and the little young master. The door of the central room was knocked before Aunt Fu's voice sounded, "Little young master, this old woman has something to see you. Come in." As soon as Aunt Fu opened the door, the cold wind carrying snowflakes poured in. Qin Mian tightened the woolen blanket around his body. Aunt Fu lowered her eyes and did not look around. After she dropped a curtsy, she said, "Little young master, recently many people are asking about Lei Qin Lei, both overtly and secretly. After thinking about it, this old woman thinks you should be told about it as soon as possible." Lei Qin Lei. Qin Mian's eyes moved away from the notebook and looked at her in puzzlement. What's wrong with Lei Qin Lei? Aunt Fu discovered that the little young master hadn't realized it. "Little young master, this old woman guesses this is what happened. The New Year's gifts for the workers in the winery and vermicelli workshop have been sent. Many villagers feel that our family is very generous to the employees and servants. There are some families with poor condition that still have daughters who haven't been matched." Qin Mian suddenly realized. Although he was the master's wife, he was not a woman after all. He never considered this aspect. He remembered that Lei Qin Lei was already 20 years old and would be 21 after the new year. In this era, he was considered as an unmarried older young man. He clicked his tongue inwardly. It was not easy to be a master and still had to be responsible for the servants' marriages. Fortunately, Lei Qin Lei was the only one who had reached the marriageable age. Lei Qin Shun and the others were still young. There were still a few years more before this talk will come up for them. "Did Lei Qin Lei ever mention anything to you?" "Never actually." Qin Mian nodded. "I understand the situation now. If people ask you again, you can tell them that Lei Qin Lei's wife must enter our family's servant registry. Aunt Fu, you can also understand without me saying it. There are so many secret formula in our family that not just anyone can come into our residence." Aunt Fu understood. "Little young master, please rest assured. This old woman knows how to address it. And also, you can mention this matter with Lei Qin Lei to see if he has any thoughts on it. Tie and myself are both adult men, it's not good for us to directly take care of this. You and Aunt Chuan needs to pay more attention to this matter." "Yes," replied Aunt Fu. "If there is nothing else, this old woman asks for leave. You can go." The door was closed. A sense of loneliness suddenly surged into Qin Mian's heart, and at the same time, he felt that his home was so terribly quiet. These days, Lei Tie had been going out in the morning and coming back when it was getting dark. As for him who was used to go in and out with Lei Tie, he was not used to this. He simply put down his pen, put on warm rabbit-furred boots, draped on a cloak, and called Jin Simo P to follow him out. He did not forget to fasten the lock hoop above the door panel, lest the wind blew in and raised the flame in the charcoal brazier and cause a fire. In leisurely farmhouse, aside from the cobblestone path that had been swept by the servants, everywhere was a vast expanse of white. On the ground, the white snow was like a white feather cushion, and the footprints left by chickens and ducks were like flowers embroidered on it, serene and elegant. On the fruit trees, the white snow wrapped like silk, just like locust trees blooming with silver flowers, piled up layer upon layer, beautiful like a scroll painting. With a steady pace, Jin Simo P walked forward, playfully hitting a peach tree. With a rustle, the snowflakes fell and covered its face. It discontentedly swayed its clumsy body, its posture was spoilt and naive, yet amusing. Qin Mian walked along the path to the gate. Jin Simo P wobbly followed him, shaking the snowflakes on its head from time to time. Qin Mian was amused. As far as he knew, some brown bears didn't hibernate. Unexpectedly, Jin Simo P was one of them. It stayed at home and only left when it was hungry to look for food. Qin Mian believed that one of the important reasons was that Jin Simo P hated to part with Lei Tie because almost every few days, Jin Simo P would challenge Lei Tie to fight with it. As a bystander, he couldn't understand the significance of why Jin Simo P.S. wanted to fight with a human. Uncle Chuan was on duty in the gatekeeper's room. He also lit up a charcoal brazier, but instead of charcoal, he burned firewood, which was very nice and warm. Seeing Qin Mian approaching, he ran out of the room. "Little young master, are you going out?" "Just taking a walk. Your servant will open the gate for you." With Jin Simo P following him, Uncle Chuan had nothing to worry about. After Qin Mian went out, he closed the gate. Qin Mian walked forward, aimlessly. The sky was boundless and the ground was also boundless. It was actually interesting to enjoy the snow scenery the whole journey. When he regained his senses, he found himself standing at the foot of the mountain, and spontaneously broke into laughter. Jin Simo P rolled several times on the ground and stood up, finding joy in its own way. The cold wind was howling in the ears. Qin Mian suddenly felt that his behavior today was somewhat silly. He raised his voice and called Jin Simo P, "Jin Simo P, let's go home." As soon as he turned around, a brief howl of a wolf sounded behind him. He looked back and saw a black figure leaping on the snowfield as fast as lightning, and soon came to him. "Awo!" Dian Bai put its forepaws on Qin Mian's shoulder, and its warm tongue licked his face. Lei Tie, who came out of the forest, happened to see the scene and quickened his pace. Lei Qin Shun and others watched him in amazement as he seemed to be floating on the snowfield where not even a footprint was left. Their admiration for him went to an even higher degree. "Wife, are you waiting for me?" Lei Tie stood in front of Qin Mian, pushed Dian Bai away, and gained ground to brush away the snowflakes on Qin Mian's cloak. His black as ink eyes smeared with a smiling expression of joy and contentment, his voice was deep and gentle. The joy in his man's eyes made Qin Mian feel even more that he did a foolish thing. He was unaware that the corner of his lips was tilted. "No, I was just strolling around." "N." Lei Tie took his hand. In the distance, Zhao Sifa's eyes that were full of disdain and resentment fell on the two people. For fear of attracting the other party's attention, he quickly moved away and his figure soon disappeared. Qin Mian looked at Lei Qinzhong and the others. The originally slender poplars had now grown into upright Chinese fir. With bows and arrows on their backs and prey in their hands, Lei Qinzhong's group of people stepped forward and saluted together. The orderly voices were powerful and resounding with high momentum as if it could run through the rainbow. "Greetings to little young master." Qin Mian was worried that due to Lei Tie's taciturn personality, he didn't say what he should have said. Therefore, he spoke words of encouragement, it's a great honor for your eldest young master to lead you all to the mountain for training in this snowy weather. You must not let down the cultivation and trust that your eldest young master and I have given you." The 9 armed servants looked serious as they said in unison, "This servant dares not." Qin Mian smiled and nodded, "Very good. You all go back first." "Yes." When they had gone far away, Qin Mian and Lei Tie also slowly walked home. "Ah Tie, you have longer interactions with them. What do you think of their characters?" Lei Tie said, "Wife, don't worry. All 9 of them are good." "That's good." Qin Mian hesitated for a moment, "Still going up the mountain tomorrow?" Lei Tie, who had originally scheduled the training period for 10 days, immediately changed his mind. "There will be training for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, but I don't need to personally lead the team." Only then Qin Mian's expression looked a bit better. Lei Tie held his face and gently kissed him on the lips. "Let's go home." *******. 4 days later was New Year's Eve. Lei Daqiang wanted to have Lei Tie, Lei Xiangren and Lei Zionji come to the old house for the family reunion dinner on New Year's Eve. As if they had discussed in advance, they all refused. Lei Daqiang and Du Shi quickly realized that their control over those 3 sons was getting weaker and weaker. Inside leisurely farmhouse, colored festoons and red lanterns were hung, and red spring festival couplets were also pasted. The New Year's Eve dinner was still prepared by Qin Mian himself. The table was full of dishes. The New Year's Eve dinner for Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi was also very sumptuous. Dianbai had a whole wild goat while Jin Simo Pi had a large basin of fish, sweet potatoes and honey. 2 men, a wolf and a bear spent a lively New Year's Eve. On the first day of the first month, Qin Mian and Lei Tie put on new clothes and went to the old house to pay the New Year's greetings. Very surprisingly, they were the first to arrive. After paying the New Year's greetings, the 2 men sat together with Lei Xiongli, Lei Xiongji and Lei Chuntao and chatted while eating melon seeds. Are we late?" Zhao Shi pulled Lei Dabao in her left hand and Lei Erbao in her right hand, as she stepped into the room with her chin slightly raised and her mouth delicately opened with a smile. As soon as the 3 people entered the door, Qin Mian thought a bright light flashed in front of him so dazzling. Zhao Shi was dressed in bright red outer robes. The clothes were embroidered with hidden silver threads, which glittered when shown under the light. She had a gold dangling ornament in her cloud bun, a silver headband on her forehead, pearls hanging from her earlobes, a silver necklace around her neck, and a silver dangling ornament on her waist. Both Lei Dabao and Lei Erbao were dressed in red cotton padded jackets with silver long life locks on their necks. They were as proud as their mother at such a young age. Lei Xiangren walked at the very back with a straightened waist. He wore a winter hat with a curved brim, a tailored cloud brocade robe sewn with tiger hide, and a piece of blue jade on his waist. Du Shi touched the silver earrings she had worn for several years as her eyes wandered to the accessories on Zhao Shi's body, not knowing what she felt inside, and regretted that they had separated too soon. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 129. Celebrate the Lantern Festival in the prefectural city. As soon as everyone's eyes fell on his family, Lei Xiongren's eyebrows displayed a sense of pride. He strode to Lei Daqiang and Du Shi and knelt with Zhao Shi, "Happy New Year to father and mother." He ignored Wei Shi. Wei Shi's expression was flat as if she didn't pay any attention. Lei Daqiang was a little unhappy, but Lei Xiangren was his son, it was hard to say anything. Lei Dabao and Lei Erbao knelt and very sweetly said, "Happy New Year to Grandpa, Grandma and little Grandma. May you be happy and prosperous and bring red envelopes." All right, get up." Lei Daqiang was still very fond of his 2 grandsons that he repeatedly told them to rise and took out 2 red envelopes. He gave one to each of them. "Come, take the red envelope. I hope that our Dabao and Erbao will grow up taller and clever this year." Lei Dabao opened the red envelope on the spot and counted the money one by one. "Oh, our Dabao can count. Du Shi looked at Dabao lovingly. Yes, mother. Dabao is so clever. He only attended the school for a few days and can already count from 1 to 20. Zhao Shi had a look of arrogance. Du Shi nodded with satisfaction. Good, he's promising. After counting, Dabao ran to Zhao Shi. His voice was very loud. Mother, don't you say that Grandpa and Grandma have a lot of money and will give us silvers for the New Year's money? I want silver. Silence overtook the room. Qin Mian almost choked on his tea and quickly put down the cup. Lei Tie patted him on the back and pulled him to get up. Qin Mian took out 3 red envelopes, 2 of which were handed to Lei Xiangren and the other to Lei Xiangji. This is for Xingxin. We still have to visit other villagers' homes to pay New Year's greetings. We're leaving first. Du Shi came back to her senses and immediately blew her top. She roared, Zhao Shi! Is that how you are teaching my grandsons? Ah! Qin Mian quickly pulled Lei Tie to speed up their pace. Out of the courtyard gate, he couldn't hold back from shaking his head. Dabao and Bao, these 2 children are dangerous. A 6-year-old child couldn't possibly concoct that kind of conversation. It could only be learned from his parents. With parents like Zhao Shi and Lei Xiangren, the possibility of Lei Dabao and Lei Bao would grow up crookedly was very high. People who don't belong together, don't get to live together, Lei Tie said indifferently. That's insightful. Qin Mian gave him a thumbs up. The snowfield was full of exploded firecrackers and scraps of red paper. When they met a few villagers, who went out to pay New Year's greetings, they cupped their hands in respect and greeted Happy New Year. With Lei Xingxin in his arms, Lei Xianji and Qian Shi came across them in a hurry. Dagur and eldest sister-in-law, Happy New Year! Are you going back? Qian Shi curtsied with folded hands at her lower right side and said, Dagur and eldest sister-in-law, Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Qin Mian cupped his fist in the other hand and then rubbed Xingxin's head. Why so late? Lei Xianji said, the child's mother got up early feeling somewhat uncomfortable. Therefore, we got delayed for a while. Are you all right? Qin Mian expressed concern. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine. Qian Shi shook her head with a smile. I gave Xingxin's red envelope to her 5th uncle. You go ahead. Be careful when you go in. It's not very peaceful inside, hinted Qin Mian. Lei Xianji understood and anxiously told Qian Shi, later, you just follow by my side. Qin Mian and Lei Tie continued to pay New Year's greetings. They sent several red envelopes to Lei Dagong's house. Just after coming out of Lei Dagong's house, they saw Lei Xiangli and Lei Chuntao running over in a hurry. They looked anxious. Qin Mian curiously asked, Si Lang and Mei Mei, what are you running for? Eldest sister-in-law, Xiao Niang had a fetal qi movement, she's going to give birth. Lei Chuntao replied without stopping her feet, I'm going to call the midwife. Eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law, I'm going to call for a doctor. Lei Xiangli also quickly ran away. Since they could do nothing even if they went back to the old house, Qin Mian and Lei Tie continued to pay New Year's greetings. When they returned home, they discussed what gifts to give. What should be given to a woman who had just given birth? Qin Mian had no idea. Lei Tie shook his head, ask Aunt Fu. Qin Mian called Aunt Fu over. Aunt Fu said, responding to little young master, it's usually brown sugar and eggs. Qin Mian thought for a moment and said, prepare 2 jin of brown sugar, 2 jin of eggs, and 6 jin of red jujube. Yes. Near noon, Zioxi came to announce the good news. Wei Shi gave birth to a daughter and the washing 3rd day ceremony was set on the 3rd day of the new year. Zioxi conveyed the meaning of Lei Daqiang, which was to have Lei Tie, Lei Xiangren, Lei Xianji and Lei Xiangli send congratulatory letters to their relatives' homes. Each of them was responsible for a few families. Lei Tie only gave Zioxi 2 words, not going. Zioxi didn't dare to say a word about that and quickly left. On the second day of the first lunar month, Mian and LIAN went to Deng village to pay a New Year's visit. Ever since the Deng family came over to enjoy the flowers last spring, Mian and LIAN never invited the Deng family members to visit their home anymore. They just had people sent some fruits to them on every fruiting season. Eldest Uncle Deng and second Uncle Deng were both smart people. They guessed that some of their family members left a bad impression on Mian and LIAN. Later, they went to LIAN's house several times without bringing their wives, daughters-in-law, grandsons, and granddaughters. They never blamed LIAN and Mian for this. It was already hard on LIAN and Mian to be concerned enough by sending them some fresh fruits from time to time. It was more comfortable for both sides to associate just like ordinary relatives. Old Man Deng and Old Lady Deng enjoyed the special treatments. At every festival celebrations, Mian and LIAN gave them ample gifts. LIAN respected the old man and the old lady from the bottom of his heart, while Mian respected them because of LIAN's respect. The third day of the first month was the washing third day ceremony of the Lei's youngest daughter. Early in the morning, Mian asked Aunt Fu to deliver 2 jin brown sugar, 2 jin eggs, and 6 jin red jujube. When it was near noon, he and LIAN then went over to have lunch and learned that the name of the Lei's youngest girl was Lei Yaking, which was chosen by Wei Shi, and Ching Ching was her childhood name. The washing third day ceremony required a basin where people added copper coins, gold or silver ingots, as well as gold or silver banknotes, and also longans, red jujubes, peanuts, chestnuts, and other festive fruits. Even Lei Xiangren and Zhao Shi both added a handful of copper coins. Lei Daqiang was very dissatisfied with the gifts given by Mian and LIAN. From time to time, he pointedly glanced at them. Even more, Du Shi incessantly spoke with scathing remarks. Mian and LIAN had unobtrusively drifted apart from the old house. Naturally, they didn't take their attitudes seriously. They sat at the banquet and only ate 2 mouthfuls of food for appearance's sake before finding an excuse to leave. A few days later, a rumor circulated in the village. The gist of it was that LIAN had forgotten his parents' nurturing grace after he had flourished. It was easy to know that this rumor was spread by someone among Lei Daqiang, Du Shi, Lei Xiangren, or Zhao Shi. Wei Shi was a smart woman. It was unlikely to be her, and the most likely was Du Shi and Lei Daqiang. LIAN was a man of few words and usually didn't even bother to talk. So of course, he would not argue with those gossiping villagers. However, his wife was not easy to bully. He immediately summoned all the servants to publicize what Du Shi and Lei Daqiang had done in the past and also to let others know what Du Shi had done to Wei Shi. They were all from the same village, they knew each other. Moreover, not a few villagers worked in the processing yard. Public opinion soon inclined toward LIAN. In Green Mountain Village, Du Shi and Lei Daqiang, the stepmother and stepfather couple, once again became the man and the woman of the moment. Unfortunately, Sun Daining's family was slightly affected. Sun Daining was Sun Yu's father. His wife, Aunt Xiaolin, was so unbearably angry. If she didn't know that Lei Xiongli and Lei Daqiang had separated, she would never have betrothed her daughter to Lei Daqiang's family. Aunt Xiaolin met Lei Xiongli in secret and asked him to solve the housing issue in the first lunar month. This way, after Sun Yu and he got married, they didn't have to live in the old house. With Mian adding fuel to the fire, the storm was especially fierce. For several days, Du Shi and Lei Daqiang did not dare to wander around the village. They even went to their relatives' homes to pay New Year's greetings at the first glimmer of dawn. On the 7th day of the first lunar month, Mian and LIAN set out on their journey to Qingtian Prefecture. They were going to celebrate the Lantern Festival in Qingtian. It was said that the Lantern Festival in the prefectural city was especially lively, and there was nothing that one couldn't think of, whether it was to eat, drink, have fun and play. Lei Qin Shun, Lei Qin Zhong, Lei Qin Li, and Lei Qin Xin accompanied them. Owing to the early departure, there was plenty of time, so the carriage drove neither too fast nor too slow along the way. Lei Qin Lei's group of 5 took turns driving the carriage. Qin Mian and Lei Tie just needed to sit in the carriage, nice and cozy. In the first lunar month, many vehicles and pedestrians were coming and going on the public road. The pedestrians dressed in festive new clothes and the vehicles were hung with red cloth strips symbolizing auspiciousness. From time to time, some fragments of exploded firecrackers were seen on the roadside. The spirit of the new year was strong. After driving for 4 days, the carriage arrived in Qingtian Prefecture. The street was full of people and vehicles. It was obvious that wanting to stay in the inn would be hard. Qin Mian simply gave up looking for an inn and asked Lei Qin Lei and Lei Qin Li to find a private residence to rent a courtyard. To celebrate the Lantern Festival, Qingtian Prefecture had greatly changed its look. Under the veranda of the buildings, colorful festoons fluttered and red lanterns hung high, extending until the end of the street, looking like 2 red dragons from afar. On both sides of the street, there were roadside stalls selling sugar figurines, soup noodles, barbecues, spicy hot soup, colored lanterns, as well as stalls for riddles guessing, ring toss, acrobatics show, storytelling, and fortune-telling. Everything was lively. Young masters from rich families with escorts in front and behind, warm and harmonious family of 3, all of them were smiling. As though the pedestrians were knitted, their heads crowded together as they moved back and forth. This was the first time that Qin Mian saw the night market in the ancient era. He was very excited but also felt it was extremely novel. He took Lei Tie to walk around one stall after another. He also bought novelty snacks and various kinds of things. In his words, money is earned to be spent. He didn't carry the things he bought, it was all foisted off on Lei Tie. Lei Tie handed over the things to the 5 escorts and closely followed by Qin Mian's side to prevent him from being separated. He was disgusted when the crowd touched him from time to time. However, when he saw Qin Mian's excited eyes, all the discomfort disappeared. In his eyes, he only saw his wife's smiling face, in his heart, he only felt his wife's joy. End chapter. Minwei Qinan. Chapter 130. False Alarm. Tie, Qin Mian noticed Lei Tie's frown and understood it. He quickly came back to the man's side and blocked him from the stream of people. Lei Tie caught sight of a woman tripping after being pushed in their way and immediately changed places with Qin Mian. The aura on his body turned gloomy and a piercing cold feeling came out of thin air. The people around him shivered for no reason and unconsciously kept away from the source of danger. Are you all right? Lei Tie disliked the throng of the crowd and it would also be meaningless for Qin Mian to stroll around alone. He thought that it was better not to stroll around but there was some hesitation on his face. I'm fine. Lei Tie saw through his wife's thoughts and changed the topic. Wife, what did you call me for? There are clay figurines over there. Qin Mian took his hand and looked at him with a grin. Will this be better? Lei Tie tightly held his hand. Don't want a clay figurine. Follow me. Qin Mian excitedly pulled him to the stall where the clay figurine was needed. He watched with fascination as a ball of clay turned into a lifelike child in the hands of the old man. There was a look of incredulousness on his face. He had only seen the art of kneading clay figurines on TV before. As soon as the clay child was done, he spoke before others had a chance to. Boss, need one of me and one of him. No problem. The old man carefully looked at them up and down, making a detailed inspection. When his gaze fell on their clasped hands, he was a little surprised but remained calm as he laughed. Young masters, please wait a moment. He tore a small lump of clay from a big lump in the bucket. His 10 fingers were like playing piano, changing movements skillfully and quickly. The lifeless clay gradually deformed. In less than a half-quarter of an hour, 2 clay figurines holding hands appeared in his hand, exactly like Qin Mian and Lei Tie. So much so that even the tenderness in Lei Tie's eyes was portrayed, as vivid as though it was given life. With great care, Mian took it and exclaimed, "Elder has great skill. Haha, little young master overpraises me. It's good that you like it." The old man was very kind. LIAN was also surprised by the similarity between the clay figurines and them. He asked, "Is there a wooden box?" "Oh, yes." The old man took out a wooden box about the same size from under the table. After Mian put the clay figurines in, the old man covered it and handed the wooden box to him. Feeling pleased, Mian hugged the box. His mind involuntarily visualized LIAN's appearance when he was a child. He enjoyed himself with that. LIAN took a silver ingot from his pouch, regardless of whether it was 1 or 2 or 5 taels, and put it on the table in front of the old man. Ah! Shocked, the old man picked up the silver ingot worth 5 taels. "Young master, 20 wen is enough. This is too much." Before he finished speaking, the two men had gone far away and were soon blocked by the crowd. He could only see the man with his face slightly sideways as he stared down at the youth beside him, still expressionless, but his deep eyes were filled with tenderness. Mian saw a barbecue stall at the front and rubbed his stomach, a little hungry. "Tie, let's go eat barbecue." "All right." Mian looked behind him and was surprised. Lai, why are there only 3 of you?" Zhong promptly said, "Little young master, we discovered earlier that Li and Xin are missing. We're afraid of ruining yours and eldest young master's enjoyment, so we didn't say anything. But little young master can rest assured. When we came out, I told them to remember the way. In case they can't find us, they will wait at the Great Fortune Inn's entrance." As the eldest of the 9 armed servants, Zhong was careful and steady. Mian was at ease with him and nodded, "Go and eat something first. Also pack some food for Li and Xin later." "Yes." The few of them walked along the stream of people to the barbecue stall. Who would have known that at this time, someone at the front screamed, "Fire! Fire!" The course of the sound was like the undercurrent of the seabed gushing out in the crowd without warning. Stream of people instantly surged, women's screams and children's cries came and went one after another. Losing their mind out of fear, people crowded in different directions, and several turbulent streams of people pushed against each other, making the scene all the more chaotic. A child fell in front of Mian and was about to be trampled on by an adult. Mian immediately moved and lifted the child. The surging stream of people pushed him a few steps forward and he quickly stabilized his center of gravity. The father of the child tightly hugged the child and gratefully expressed his thanks to Mian. Mian looked back and was dumbstruck. Where was his family's poker face? A frightened man ran past him and stepped on his feet. Mian uttered a hiss sound of pain. He knew that he could not panic at this time. He could only move forward along the stream of people. Seeing an opening, he pushed toward the edge of the crowd. After struggling for a moment, he finally squeezed out. He leaped onto the roof and searched for LIAN's figure in the crowd, holding the wooden box containing the clay figurines tightly in his hand. In the throng of the crowd, LIAN's hand suddenly felt empty, making him startled. Before he could react, the pedestrians on the left side were suddenly pushed by a strong force. 7 or 8 people fell into a pile in front of him. By the time he bypassed them, he had lost trace of Mian. At once, his chest seemed to have been hollowed out. The possibility of losing Mian made him lose his senses. He pushed aside the people who hindered him and anxiously searched in the crowd. "Wife! Mian!" Mian stood on a high place and looked far away. In a short time, he found LIAN's figure. Seeing the man's blank and despairing expression, he felt pain as though a knife had been plunged into his heart. Did that silly man completely forget that he's a cultivator? "Tie! Tie! I'm over here!" Mian yelled as he waved. On the second floor of a wine house beside the street, Nihung stood by the railing and patted the head of the girl beside him as he said with joy, see that? Fortunately, I didn't listen to you and stroll around downstairs. Just then, he heard a familiar voice and looked across the street. LIAN had a sharp hearing. When he heard Qin Mian's voice, he turned his head. His pupils shrank and his lips wriggled before he leaped up, his figure flashed, and fell in front of Qin Mian. In the wine house, NING was astounded. What a fast Qinggong skill! LIAN's martial arts had reached the realm of perfection level. Qin Mian didn't have time to say a word and was embraced by LIAN, a pair of iron arms wrapped around his waist so tightly as if wanting to break him. Wife! Don't leave me! The man's body was trembling uncontrollably. Qin Mian's eyes irrepressibly stung. He also forcibly hugged and patted the man's back with his right hand as he continuously appeased, "It's fine, it's fine. Silly, I won't leave you." Qin Mian leaned against the man's chest and listened to his rapid heartbeat slowly return to stability. His heart throbbed, the heartache he felt for his man was like a tide billowing in his chest. That blank and despairing expression of LIAN, he never wanted to see it again. He raised his head and glared at the man. "Idiot! Did you forget that you have cultivation? Did you forget that we could meet again in the old place?" LIAN knew that he had made his wife feel distressed and silently allowed his wife to reproach him without saying a word. Seeing him looking like this, Qin Mian's heart was pulled again. How could he bear to continue scolding him? After he raised his hand and gently caressed the man's cheek, he held out his hand to him. LIAN held it tightly. The local authorities soon intervened in the great disturbance in the street. The crowd broke up after being dispersed and the street gradually calmed down. The fire in the distance was also extinguished. Fortunately, it did not lead to a larger disaster. However, many people were trampled and crushed and were taken to the medical building for treatment. Qin Mian and LIAN then jumped down from the roof. NING and the girl, as well as NING's attendant Chun Sheng, came out of the wine house and timely stopped the two people who were about to leave. Qin Mian and Boss Lei. NING? What a coincidence! Qin Mian was very happy to meet an old friend in a distant land. Yes. Did you forget what I said that the Ni family's root is in the prefectural city? NING ruefully looked at him and LIAN. Just now, he could see the scene clearly on the second floor. Double Xiang House was under Qin Mian's name. When he signed the document of the secret formula for the off-season vegetables, if LIAN pressed his thumbprint instead of Qin Mian, NING would have asked for Qin Mian's thumbprint or seal to be added. It was because he never thought that there would be serious feelings between these two men, as he did not think that the feelings between two men could last for a long time. But tonight, he had to admit that he was wrong. He even envied Qin Mian and LIAN, they both were wholeheartedly concerned for each other. He didn't know whether he could meet a lover who could sincerely promise a lifetime with him in the future. "Yes, but I didn't expect such coincidence," said Qin Mian. "Eldest brother, these two young masters are..." The girl's voice sounded bashful. Her eyes wandered on Qin Mian and LIAN's faces, somewhat fascinated. She noticed a scar on the other side of LIAN's face. When her eyes finally fell on Qin Mian, her pretty face was dyed with a layer of blush. This young master not only wore expensive clothes and ornaments, but he was also outstandingly handsome, so much so that he even outstripped her eldest brother. LIAN's aura turned cold and heavy. NING noticed his sister's gaze and grew alert. He hurriedly said, "Qin Mian and Boss Lei, let me introduce you. This is my younger sister. Mei, these two are Boss Lei from Zhaoyang County and his madam, Boss Qin." Madam." The girl's apricot eyes opened so wide. With a light hum, her gaze cooled off. Qin Mian gave NING a silent glance. He was very grateful that NING eliminated the peach blossom for him, but there was no need to say that he was LIAN's madam. Why did NING think he was LIAN's madam instead of LIAN was his madam? NING helplessly spread out his hands. How should I introduce you otherwise? Just call me by name, said Lei Tie to Niheng. Niheng smiled, all right. Qin Mian and Lei Tie, since we are brought by fate to meet, I ought to act as a host. How about finding a place to sit down? Qin Mian regretfully said, today won't do. We went out with 5 attendants. I'm afraid they are still looking for us. How about tomorrow? Niheng nodded his head as he said, sure, it's a deal. I happen to have another business to talk to you about, but there's no rush. They agreed to meet at 7 Fortunes Winehouse at noon the next day and parted ways. Qin Mian and Lei Tie went back along the way they came from and came across the 5 attendants who were walking in their direction, looking for them. The 2 parties smoothly reunited and returned to the previous barbecue stall. After having a hearty meal, Qin Mian and Lei Tie were not in the mood to stroll again and returned to the rented courtyard. As soon as they entered the room, Lei Tie carried Qin Mian horizontally and pressed him on the bed. The 2 men had undergone a rather major emotional turmoil tonight. They needed to get over the shock. Very soon, they rolled in together and lingered for a whole night. At noon the next day, Qin Mian and Lei Tie came to 7 Fortunes Winehouse to meet Niheng. Niheng treated them to a sumptuous lunch, enthusiastically and attentively. What Niheng wanted to say was that there were several waves of people who tried to go to Zhaoyang County to inquire about the off-season vegetables, but they were stopped by Mu Chen's people. 3 days ago, the news that the formula for off-season vegetables was in Mu Chen's hand was released so that afterwards, no one would find Qin Mian and Lei Tie to make trouble about of this. Qin Mian thanked him and asked him to pass on their gratitude to Mu Chen. No need for thanks. If you still have preserved peaches, send me some. My grandmother especially loves to eat it, said Niheng, half-jokingly. Qin Mian said with a smile, lucky for you, we indeed brought 2 preserved peaches when we went out this time, supposedly to keep for ourselves. They aren't opened yet. You can come back with us later and take them home with you. Lei Qin Lei and others didn't know what kind of things were loaded in the carriage. He would look for an opportunity and take 2 out from the magical space. Niheng cupped his hand in respect and said, it would be disrespectful to decline. After finishing the lunch, Niheng went with them. Qin Mian gave him 2 preserved peaches and bid farewell at the same time. Returning home later, Qin Mian and Lei Tie were about to enter a busy new year. End chapter.